Hey guys, welcome back to the Nothing But Action podcast. I am your host, as always, Brodie, and I'm joined once again with my co-host Jordan. How are we, man?
Yeah, very, very good. Very good. Except I'm jealous of your haircut. You've got the fresh cut and still rocking the Justin Bieber cut.
Hey, what can I say? I'm very lucky in this COVID lockdown that my girlfriend's sister's a hairdresser, so I can happily get a haircut and not have to
Yeah. People are
rock.
probably like, oh, why can't you get a haircut? I'm like, man, Australia is so messed up right now. We can't even like go outside without getting in trouble at this point.
Yeah, this Australian Melbourne lockdown's been a bit of a pain, but hopefully soon some stuff gets eased because
Yeah.
I'm going crazy.
Same. Same.
Well, hey, today's big day, mate. Media day. Tomorrow training can start. It's all starting soon. All the NBA news is going to start
Oh
coming
yeah.
in. We're actually going to have some stuff to talk about on this podcast and not just
Oh yeah.
talking about, predictions and stuff, which is, hey, that's exciting. It's something new because, hey, all we've been doing is just talking about teams and predictions because it's all we can really do at the moment.
Yeah.
There's no like trade rumors or anything.
Media is always fun for the people that go for the absolute doozy teams because you get led on false hopes every single year and a lot of lies and none of it ever pans out really.
Yeah.
Media day is different. I feel like media day is super different this year. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like there have been a lot more players interviewed this year, at least from some of the media days that I've seen. Where I feel like a couple years ago media day started to get pretty stale, but I think because COVID happened, and I think a lot of people are really, really excited for a lot of content, and NBA teams have recognized this, and they have definitely given it to us.
Yeah. Oh no, exactly. And media day is awesome, man. Like it's like
Yeah,
if you're a fan, that's when you can sit down and it's been so long this off season. You can actually like just hear from the players what they've been up to and what's been happening.
hmm
But
yeah,
oh man, when that happens, you get some of those interviewers that just ask the most stupidest questions, and it just blows my mind. I don't know, Jordan, if you've heard this morning, but Kevin Durant, man. Kevin Durant literally got asked the most stupidest question. I was watching it, trying to hold back the cringe. Like it was.
Oh
Have you
no,
seen it or no?
I haven't seen it. I've only seen one question that I thought was pretty funny, but I haven't seen any of them. Like I've been
Yeah,
kind of keeping it a bit low. I've seen the photos from media day, but I haven't seen like many interviews at all.
yeah. So this interviewer, and this interviewer is David Letterman. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's
I've heard of him.
big.
I've heard of
Yeah,
him somewhere. It's a
yeah,
Twitter dude, isn't he?
yeah. He's like he did. He's a TV host, or he was a TV host, comedian.
Yeah.
Big, yeah, big in New York.
Okay.
But pretty much, he asked Kevin Durant. So, why is your nickname KD?
Stop.
Why
Stop.
is
No,
your
he didn't.
nickname
No, he
KD?
didn't.
No, genuine. And it's right now
Oh
for the
man.
people on the podcast and YouTube. I'll play the clip right now, and that could be the audio or the video, just so you can actually see what he asked.
Dave from Basketball Digest. Kevin, KD, why do people call you KD? Can I call you KD? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first name is Kevin. K,
Right.
And my second name, my last name, my second name. My last name is Durant with a D.
It's
Oh
just
my god.
I can't believe that. Like, and it was
That's
so
a very weird question. I feel like there's so many questions you can ask. Like, hey KD, who are you hooking up with this off season? Are the rumors true? Are you dating Kim Kardashian or something like that? Not why is your nickname KD?
and it's
That's
just
such a
like
boring question too.
you saw Kevin Durant. He was a bit like, "Are you serious? This should be a pretty obvious answer."
Yeah.
And he just said, "Well, my name is Kevin, and that starts with a K, and my last name is Durant, and that starts with a D."
Have you
It's-
seen the Wardell Curry one?
No.
His name's Wardell. Wardell, isn't it? Wardell, right?
Yeah.
This dude on an interview last season with Golden State, he asked Steph Curry. He goes, "Oh, Wardell, can you tell me about this?" And he asked some stupid ass question, but no one cared about the question because he didn't say, "Hey, Steph." He said Wardell like that. And Steph was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But the question was like really, really stupid too. I think he shocked himself that he called him Wardell, and it just didn't go well. Is there any other stupid questions that you've seen?
David Letterman was actually on a roll today. He asked another stupid question.
Oh, no. Was this the KD as well?
Yes, it was the KD. It was straight after. It's just, I was like, dude, are you serious? And he asked, so Kevin Durant, what percentage are you going to give on the floor when playing? Like, how hard are you going to play? 70%, 60%, 80%? And then there was this, of course, the awkward silence, and Kevin Durant just 110%. Like, what's he going to say? Oh, yeah, he's going to say, I'm only going to play 50%. Like, of course he's going to say 100%.
I don't know, dude. It's a weird question too, because I'm sure if KD is having one of those bad days, it's probably not that he's super unintentionally trying. He's not going to. That's a weird question. What do you want him to say too? Like just
stupidity, man. I couldn't tell if Letterman was having a laugh or if he was actually being genuine. Because I don't know. I just thought those are.
He had a pre-game beer, pre-game beer, and straight away just interviewed KD.
You could tell Kevin Durant wasn't happy at all. He was rolling his eyes. He was kind of looking around like, who is this man? Are you serious? This is the guy who's going to be interviewing me? Good. I'm glad. KD, you know what? KD hate tolerance is tolerated on this podcast. That's a rule. I know you don't like the Nets, so I'm sure we can all agree on KD's a no-go. But I don't know. There's some stupid ass questions. Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to piss him off, maybe do it in a little bit of a different way. Do it more. I don't know. Ask him who he's dating or something. Try and piss him off that way. I don't know. It's a weird question.
Well, also, what I thought was wasn't funny, but it was interesting. Ja Morant was recently on an interview with Taylor Brooks from Bleacher Report, and this was interesting. He got asked, is he ever going to be in a dunk competition? Later in his career or maybe this year. He kind of laughed it off and said no, but then said, I would go in the dunk competition if there was a prize winning money of $1 million. So
that's stupid. Like, just go. Nah, he shouldn't compete in the dunk competition anyway. He's had a history of looking like he's about to break his leg when he dunks. So you wouldn't want that to happen in a dunk competition. Yeah. I wouldn't think. I think that's pretty reasonable for him to say no to that. But I feel like a dude like Zion, who is at risk of injury every time he's on the court, why not have a go at the dunk competition? He'd be all right.
It's interesting.
Similar to like Blake Griffin.
Morant's always said earlier in his career, he'd love to be in a dunk competition. But he really said on this whole interview that the reason why he just wouldn't want to be in it is just because of how bad the way they rate it, 8s, 10s, people be doing these amazing dunks through their legs and only get a 7. I just want to get your thoughts real quick. What's your thoughts on, the way they do it? When you got D Wade giving this awesome dunk from Aaron Gordon, a 8, or stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I can't really. What I would have originally said was, let's get people to do let's get the voters. The people who should be voting should be actual professionals, right? That would be my original statement on that. But then we saw what Dwayne Wade did, and then maybe that's not super professional. But at the same time, it's super hard to vote because Dwayne Wade gets a lot of hate for that. But at the end of the day, they were going to keep dunking until one of them got injured or something like that. Like, they were both doing superb dunks.
Yeah.
It was almost like Dwayne Wade just kind of said, all right, I want to go home now. Like, let's just end this. I don't know if it's ever going to. It's probably one of the hardest and most controversial things to vote on because there's once you get players that can do perfect dunks consistently, it's very hard to not give them a 10 every single time.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really hard. I honestly don't know the solution for the dunk contest. I have no idea what they could do about it because eventually you're going to have a dunk contest where it just ends up being 10s, 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 10s again. And there's going to be that one guy that just has to give it an 8 like how Dwayne Wade did. Just to finally end it. Like, it's going to happen eventually. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if you have an idea, but I'm blank on it.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It's you can't. It's different from all these 20 years ago when Michael Jordan was in a dunk competition and like just the really hard, difficult dunks they were doing, they weren't as common. Where nowadays, those dunks that they're doing in dunk competitions usually happen in games nowadays. If it's on a fast break, a player's going to try and do some fancy dunk, where back then that wasn't really happening. It was just get the bucket, get the easy points. And I feel like now that really impacts it because then players do this awesome dunk in a slam dunk competition. And people just don't think it's as good because, I've seen that before. Well, it's a bit difficult because how are they going to make any more dunks now? Like they can't create any more. Like, do you get what I mean?
There's really nothing there's nothing they can do unless they like maybe decide to say, all right, we'll implement something like an actual voting system, like putting up a thing that actually says what gets votes and what doesn't. Because clearly, maybe changing it up a little bit might be the right thing to do. Who knows? Like. Something like we've seen every dunk now. Like we know pretty much what a player is going to do. But when we didn't was when Aaron Gordon like whipped out the mascot. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like things like that. Maybe changing it up like that. People, and that's the thing though. People won't like that though. Like if you were to say to someone, "All right, let's bring in a trampoline
Blake
to
Griffin
change
his
it up."
car.
Yeah, like people might not like that.
Yeah.
So I'm really like, I don't know what they can do to change anything at all. I really don't think there is much they can do.
Yeah.
But they've got to think of something quick.
It sucks. It really sucks because every year the dunk competition and the skills competition, all of those competitions that happen on the All-Star break are just losing more and more interest by the year. And this is when they really need to just maybe think of some brand new ideas, like a potential one-on-one competition. Like, hey, I would love to watch that. Like, imagine your two best players, LeBron and I don't know, it's like Kevin Durant going at it first to 11. I know the players probably wouldn't really want to do that, but
they might not try. That's the thing too.
But that's it. Hey, it'd make it more interesting. That's where maybe you can add maybe some more incentives and the younger players that are like a really good still, but aren't getting those top dollars. Maybe more interested to do a one-on-one with someone.
Yeah,
their skill.
It's an idea. You could do imagine like a one-on-one dunk thing. Like you got to try and stop a player from dunking on you. I don't even know how that would work. I don't know, dude. The dunk competition's in a weird place. But I'm sure when they've got thousands of basketball minds there, someone will figure out something eventually to change it. I just don't know what that is. But yeah, Blake Griffin with the car. Aaron Gordon with the mascot. Something will come up, I reckon.
Yeah.
Larry Nance when he did the change thing, he changed into his dad's old Phoenix kit. That's another thing too. Oladipo, Black Panther,
Superman.
That's one. Yeah, the Superman. See, someone will do something that will be a little bit different. I don't know. It will come eventually, I suppose. Or maybe someone will think of something like an NBA mind.
Yeah, you're right. It's difficult, and it's going to be hard to grasp the attention of more fans and stuff. It's losing interest. But I reckon we move on, and I want to talk about just the vaccination right now in the NBA, and you probably can tell what I'm about to say. Kyrie Irving, man, like this is. I don't know what to say. Like I'm a bit biased. I don't like Kyrie, but I think Kyrie is he really liked that much in the league? I reckon he'll have to be one of the most hated players right now in the whole entire league.
What's going on with Kyrie and the vax?
So with the vaccination, he is refusing to be vaccinated. He doesn't want to be vaccinated. And because with New York's regulations of coronavirus, you can't actually play any home games or even practice in New York. And that's going to be a major issue. That's him missing potentially 40 plus home games. So at the moment, he's missing 40 games next season.
Yeah.
And he couldn't even attend Media Day. He actually had to attend Media Day virtually on Zoom.
Ooh, okay. This is a very controversial thing to talk about.
Yeah, it's got to be careful.
First of all, there's a you know what? Anything I say will get criticized. So whatever I say, someone will disagree with. But at the end of the day, my opinion is I think it should be freedom, right? I think you should be able to do, you can say the thing, it's your body, your choice, whatever. But the other thing is Kyrie Irving, he picked Brooklyn knowing that New York is mainly a Democratic blue state, right? Democratic blue state. I know he didn't pick them knowing COVID was going to start, but at the end of the day, politics to politics, and the Democratic states like to follow more of a, what the government says go, while the red Republican states like to follow more of a everyone's free, everyone gets to make up their own mind. If Kyrie Irving has such an issue with getting vaccinated, maybe playing for Brooklyn is not the best thing for him. Maybe going and playing for a team that's in a red state where he can be completely free and do what he wants to do. Maybe that's the thing he looks at. But playing for Brooklyn, you're living in New York, right? You have to follow what their government says. The other place that is doing this is California, San Francisco. Andrew Wiggins is not allowed to play for the Golden State Warriors right now because of the vaccination rules. Again, if Andrew Wiggins was to be traded to Memphis or something like that, all of his worries would probably go away. But it could also be, what's the league saying here? Are the NBA going to step in and say everyone has to be vaccinated? Or are they going to say you're going to have to just listen to whatever your state has to tell you? I see that's the thing with Kyrie Irving is he's playing for Brooklyn. If he wants to continue to play for Brooklyn, he has to be vaxxed, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And if he disagrees with that, then his best option is to leave or, retire. He's not going to, if he starts complaining that, does he think the government's going to listen to him? New York government's not going to give a crap what he says. And he's probably not going to get an exemption. Andrew Wiggins was denied of an exemption.
Exactly.
So that is, that's Kyrie. He's in a little bit of an issue right now.
It's a pretty crappy situation for both of them. I just think it's like I'm just kind of more thinking about the team, Brooklyn, and the team for Golden State. Like, man, like it's really hard on the players. Like that's having an impact on the team chemistry. I know Kevin Durant was backing up Kyrie Irving and stuff like that, but of course they're going to do that to the media. I think it's going to be tough. I think players like Harden and then look at like Iguodala at Golden State. They must be thinking to themselves, are they really committed to trying to win a championship when they can't, I know people have their own choices and I don't want to comment on that too much, but just, I think the bigger issue is how much is this going to impact team chemistry? Because it's when you've got a player only playing half the games in the season and hey, we don't even know what's going to happen in the playoffs. Maybe he might not even be able to play playoff games. Like this is a huge issue for this team.
Oh, the NBA's kind of screwed themselves, I reckon. All they've done in the last 2 years is worry about politics. And a lot of the times it's really come back to bite them in the ass, like many times. You look at NBA Finals 2020 when they're on the bubble, right? Black Lives Matter. Whether you agree with what happened in Black Lives Matter or you don't, it's a complete fact that viewership was completely low once all of that happened. Like, there was a stat, I think it was game 5 in the finals or something, LA versus Miami. The game had like 6.3 million streams, right? Yeah. Now, I know other factors can come into this, like people doing it illegally, this and that. But the NFL a week later had a game where it had two of the worst teams in the league playing against each other, and it had 16 million, right? And they had no politics. They weren't talking about any politics. No one was doing anything to do with Black Lives Matter. Nothing was happening. They were just playing some football and just trying to make people happy. NBA, it was completely different. You'd hear something political every different second, and then that's what's going to happen. And now when you look at it with the vaccination, I can only see more of this happening where the NBA are going to continue to get into politics and do this and that. And I'm not too sure if that's going to lower viewership, but you can only imagine if you're a Brooklyn fan and you're a big fan of Kyrie Irving, if he's not playing because he's not allowed to play because of the COVID vaccine, then are you going to watch the game? If your favorite player is not playing, are you going to watch the game? I'm not sure. So again, it might hit viewership. It's just politics in the NBA. I think it's ridiculous. There's always something politically happening in the NBA.
It sucks. I understand players want to use the NBA as like their way to voice their opinions and stuff. And I understand that everyone's right to have their own opinion, but it just sucks when like a lot of the fans that, give them, that's why they're getting paid all this money, because of the fans.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the fans can't just want to watch a basketball game for their enjoyment. They usually watch games for enjoyment. And when you add all this political stuff, it ruins people's enjoyment. And again, that's why the viewership was down at such a low rate.
Yeah. They don't want to watch games to hear about Trump. They don't want to watch it to hear about Biden. They don't want to, watch them to be told to vote. As you said, they want to watch the sport. They don't care about the politics. And the NBA has not learnt this. And I don't understand why they have not learnt this. It's an issue. And the NBA, their viewership was bad in the bubble at that time. It wasn't as bad last year because it wasn't this year rather, it wasn't as much politics. But it seems like with all this vaccination stuff, politics are going to slightly creep the way back into the NBA.
Yeah.
But I don't like Kyrie Irving, but I somewhat feel bad for him. I don't know if he should be forced to get vaccinated. I think it's probably right that he does get vaccinated. But again, as Donald Trump said, I think it should be probably everyone's opinion. But I don't know. Everyone's going to have a different opinion of this. Someone's going to complain what I said. Someone's going to complain about what you said. No one's going to ever be on the same page.
It's a very hard subject. And that's why usually on podcasts and on, and it's overall like entertainment stuff you watch, like basketball, which it's, again, usually they try and avoid political views because that's where people get angry and upset. Yeah. But in the NBA, they're actually doing more political stuff. It doesn't really make sense because, I don't know, usually I hate talking about this stuff because people have their own opinions. You don't want to upset people. And it's not like, I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about basketball. What I like about basketball, what you like about basketball, and our opinions on it. And when the NBA is kind of flooding the players with, you have to get vaccinated, you have to do this, it's a bit crappy for the players. Like, I understand.
Yeah. Well, again, it's also the thing is you're a player, you signed up, you know the politics in that state. That's why I've never truly understood why so many players wanted to play in LA and New York if they disagree with the politics that are happening there. Why do you want to play there then? So many players are like that. I know Kyrie was from New Jersey, Brooklyn, I think, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we might be going too much into it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very hard to navigate around the whole politics in the NBA because there's so much crap to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably leave it there about the political stuff. Overall, apologize for anyone listening that doesn't like to hear this stuff. But it's what's happening in the NBA right now. And I feel like we have to touch on it a little bit because the players are going through it. We're going through it, just watching the NBA. It's a thing we do have to touch on a little bit. So I'm happy we talked about it. But let's move on. A big thing happened this morning. Michael Porter Jr., man, he signed a humongous contract extension. I want to get your thoughts on this. 5 years, $207 million. It might not be this much, but this is how much it can be.
Oh, Denver they're knifing me in the heart because I don't want us to pay Sexton $50 million a year. But that's the trend the NBA is looking like it's going. Is Michael Porter Jr., he's not fully proven yet, right?
No.
Not at all. And he probably doesn't deserve the money. But let's just say he has an all-star type year, which I think he could definitely have. Then are we going to be looking back at this contract and saying it's an overpay anymore? Probably not, because so many players are getting paid so much money in today's NBA where it's just like, this is the new normal. And look at, I think there's a rumor by 2025, was it? Salary cap's supposed to be going up by I think it was 40, 50 million or something like that. So that's only a couple years away. That's why teams are overpaying right now. It's because they don't care. Every team is rich now. It's just.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think the cap's meant to go up a lot, like you said. I just think right now it's a lot of money to be giving a player like that. And a player that, to be honest, hasn't really proved himself at all. He averaged 18 points last season. He played well, but he had his games and he didn't have his games. For a player like that hasn't even made an all-star team or anything like that, that's $207 million over 5 years. I don't know. I just think that blows my mind. And I've got a little fun fact here.
Okay.
Michael Porter Jr. now joins the list of players that have received contracts of 200 million plus as follows: Stephen Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Giannis, Luka, Trae Young, and Gobert. They are the only players that have received those contracts.
Yeah.
And now a player like Michael Porter Jr. has now joined it this early in his career.
Yeah. Well, they also signed Aaron Gordon at $20 million a year. And the other thing was that's going to change though, because by this offseason, I think it's KD, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. I think all three of them are on a player option. No, two of them I think are on a player option. I think Harden's contract is just ending. They'll probably decline their player option. All three of them are probably going to be getting paid around $50 million a season. Like it's gonna continue to grow. That list, what did you say? It's 9 players right now. After next offseason, it will probably be around 14. Didn't Luka get a $50 million contract extension too?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, it's
list.
gonna go like 14, 15. It's gonna be even bigger. It'll nearly double, realistically. Steph re-signed on like a $50 million deal too. I just hope Sexton doesn't get more than 30. Like, I've accepted it now. I know he's getting a $30 million contract because if players like Michael Porter Jr., who have not even done more than Sexton, are getting $40 million contracts, then I'm accepting that Sexton's going to get a $30 million contract. Whether that's from us or from someone else, it's probably going to happen. You know what I mean? But props to the Knicks. The Knicks have done well here. Randall's on like $30 million a year.
Yeah.
They didn't have to overpay to keep him, and he took, I think it was a rumor, he took like $10 million per season off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you if your son loves New York that much? Remember what he said? Does not like Brooklyn.
Yeah. I don't know. I understand the cap's going up. I think it's a bit early. Like, hey, what if the cap doesn't go up? I know it's projected to go up heaps, but it was also projected to go up heaps all those years ago. And that's when we got these huge contracts from like Mozgov getting like 25 million a year. Like, what if
maybe we need that in the NBA? Maybe we need some bad contracts here and there. So I feel like the Cavs and the Magic are like the only two teams that have got the severely bad ones. Like K Love's on 30 million for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Magic have Gary Harris, who I think's on 21 million. That's pretty like, for a dude that might not even barely get a minute on Orlando, 20 million a year. It's crazy. I don't know.
We're still paying Joakim Noah off.
Oh, yeah. But it's the new normal. Like, I remember you had this conversation with me, with Jarrett Allen. You told me you don't think it would be, you think it was too much.
Yeah.
But I told you it's the new normal. Players will get the money. And then we see like Aaron Gordon just got 21 million or whatever it was. That makes me a lot happy that Jarrett Allen's on 20 million.
Yeah.
A lot of players are getting big deals now. It's just the new thing.
It's just crazy. I don't. Yeah, like I understand. I get you're right. It just, I don't know, man. I just can't get my head around it. And if
too much for Michael Porter.
Yeah, if Michael Porter Jr. is getting that, like, I don't care. If a cap's going up, that is still too much for Michael Porter Jr. If he's getting that, I'm getting scared now as a Knicks fan. What's RJ Barrett going to be expecting? Is he expecting 200 million? Like
400 million. He could be better than Michael Porter one day.
Yeah, I think personally, RJ Barrett right now is better than Michael Porter Jr. And if I'm saying that, does that mean that, RJ Barrett could be getting a 5-year deal with 200? That is beyond crazy to me. I think there's no way. I don't even think RJ is worth 30 million right now. I think he's more like 20 million. I just think for Porter to be worth that much money, I think Porter, honestly, should have only been like a 25 million extension per year or 20 million per year. I just think 5 years, 200 million just blows my mind.
I would have waited. After this season. The issue I have with this contract too, it doesn't really make any sense because there were multiple times last season where they actually decided to play Will Barton over Michael Porter.
Yeah.
And Will Barton got signed to a $13 million extension. So that makes me think like, why? why did they pay a player that was like not even favored over another small forward in your team a couple times last year? Why they would do it? And it's also like, I thought they had plans for him to maybe play the power forward one day, but then they just signed Aaron Gordon to a big 4-year extension. I don't know if that's going to be happening either, but did you know Aaron Gordon is getting paid, I think, $4 million or so more a year than Jonathan Isaac? What do you reckon about that? Is that worth it? Like, is he better than Isaac?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't see an issue
Okay.
with that. I can clearly see that you do. So later,
I hope Isaac has a cracking season. So I reckon he could.
okay.
I reckon Jonathan Isaac could be so good one day. And considering Orlando have no one, like, could happen. But I don't know. I don't really rate Gordon too much. I think he has that Taurine Prince issue where he's probably more of a small forward, but he has to play the power forward because he's not a reliable enough shooter, not consistent enough.
Yeah,
I think he has that issue. I don't know. It's just I think he might be slightly overpaid, and I think Michael Porter Jr. is tremendously overpaid.
I agree. And I think we move on. This is something
Yeah.
I've actually kind of wanted to just talk about. And this is a star from the New Orleans Pelicans, Zion Williamson. Could we maybe be looking at a potential trade for Zion soon? I just feel like maybe he might be forcing a trade out soon because we all know the connection for Zion and New Orleans isn't as strong as it once was when he was drafted there.
Ooh. I don't think so. I think his family wants out. They want out. I don't think he wants out. I think it's his family don't like him there. But we've had this conversation too. What more could have New Orleans done to make Zion happy this offseason? Like, they brought in a shooter and Trey Murphy in the draft. They traded away Steven Adams to bring in Jonas to space out the floor and get a center that can be a very good shooter. They brought in Devontae Graham, who is a very good shooter as well. They went a little bit smaller too. They got rid of Lonzo, who was a little bit taller, not a consistent three-point shooter all the time. I don't know. I don't know what more the Pelicans could have done. Maybe bringing in someone like Norman Powell, a really good three-point shooter, but that was unlikely. Same with Fournier. He was probably always going to the Knicks, or I don't think he was going to the Pelicans. I'm not too sure what more they could have done to make Zion happy right now. I think David Griffin's actually done a pretty good job. I think they could make the playoffs this year. Like, they'll be knocking on the door for sure.
I just think the issue of New Orleans, and it will always probably be an issue for this New Orleans team. New Orleans isn't really a big market team in the NBA. When they got like the right next door, the big NFL team in New Orleans, it's just, I think it's hard.
LSU, the college.
Yeah,
and the Saints.
Yeah, and the
too,
Saints.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, but I just think it's a big issue because there's not many even yes, there's basketball fans, of course, in New Orleans. I'm not saying that. Sorry for any New Orleans fans watching.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not a big market team, and I think for a player like Zion, I think he'd want to play at a more big market team where he might get some more attention, from like ESPN. Like, don't get me wrong, he gets his attention, but I just think he'd want more, and he's not really going to get that from a team like New Orleans. And yeah, David Griffin's done quite a bit, but the connection between them two, like, they're going to say it's good, but it's not that good. They don't connect. Zion's disagreed with several things. They've I don't know. I just feel like maybe in the future we could see Zion try and push his way out, and that could be to a team like New York, Knicks
or Warriors, I think.
Golden State, Boston for a sign. That would be hard. It'd be hard for Boston.
If I'm Minnesota, I'm throwing everything at Zion. They have needed a power forward for 10 years. Just get like, I'd be like, well, yeah, it's a football city. New Orleans is a football city. A lot of cities are like that. Tennessee, the whole state, is a football state, and they tried to put Memphis there, which even when Memphis were dominant back in the day, never worked. They're finally seeming to pick up some steam. But I don't know. I think David Griffin, whether or not he disagrees with Zion or not, and whether or not they disagree, I don't know if a team has been built more in the offseason around a player than what New Orleans have tried to do with Zion. Like, they got rid of Steven Adams, who was not a shooter, got rid of Lonzo Ball, who wasn't a consistent dude. He was only just becoming a three-point shooter. Did this and that and brought in multiple shooters to help Zion. And they've still got Brandon Ingram there, who was a star like last season. If Zion can't win with Jonas Valanciunas, who was Ja Morant's second/third option, who was in the same draft class as him, if Brandon Ingram was, of course, Zion's second option, that's better than Jaren Jackson, I would say, on Memphis. Ja Morant has made the playoffs with less than what Zion has right now. If Zion can't make the playoffs with this team, maybe it's a Zion Williamson problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really think the Pelicans team has been very, very well. It's been built pretty well. I think it might have a depth issue. Like, it might need some more depth here and there. But when you still got players like Josh Hart coming off the bench, why not,
Sorry, I'm yawning. You're making me go to sleep, Jordan. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you mean. Like, David Griffin came in and he's gave all these assets to Zion, like to surround Zion with some actual plays that would fit better with him. I don't know. I just think we know Zion's family isn't happy. I just personally think Zion is not happy in New Orleans. And hey, I'm not saying this year, maybe not even next year, but soon. I think Zion Williamson will be requesting a trade and just force his way out of New Orleans.
I reckon you're yawning because I'm not saying anything controversial. I'm not. You're not getting what you want out of me. All right, here's what you want out of me. If Zion's going to go anywhere, New York could definitely be an option, though. But where would he play at New York? Because you've already got Julius Randle at power forward. How would Zion fit in at New York?
Oh, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It's I don't see how it would work. I'm just trying to stir the pot. But no,
what's a team that would work?
Yeah, you're right. Minnesota could work. Potentially Golden State. I think Golden State
Small
might
ball
be
5 at Golden State.
Yeah, I think Golden State might be a nice fit. Yeah, you're right with Minnesota. I reckon Minnesota might be a nice fit. But for Timberwolves, you'd have to look at Anthony Edwards would have to be traded. Maybe a pick and something else, and that's it. Like, you can't expect too much. If we're saying Zion is forcing his way out in a few years, Anthony Edwards improves and gets better.
If I'm in Minnesota, I'm not trading Edwards. I'd say to him, we'll give you 2 players, but we'll give you like 5 future first round picks. I don't even care if that's like too many first round picks. Zion Williamson averaged 28 points last season. If you're Minnesota and you can build a starting 5 of D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley, Zion, and Karl Anthony Towns, then you're destined for greatness, right? Those first round picks shouldn't be too much in the future if they can build the depth and help out this team. But imagine being a veteran and seeing Zion Williamson, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and D'Lo on the same team. You're going to go to that team, whether it's in Minnesota or not, I don't care. You're going to that team.
But do people really want to live in the cold? Minnesota is like absolutely freezing.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of players embrace the NFL team, the Vikings.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like if you like, I feel like if you're going to go to a city, you got to be a sports fan, if you're like picking the city, like I'd pick a city based off the sports I'd go to. If I was a free agent, I reckon. I think D'Lo's a Vikings fan. I think that's why he actually didn't mind Minnesota in the end.
I don't know. I just think it's going to be interesting. And I think there's so many players in the whole league that it's going to be very kind of sit back and watch for players like Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard. I think Zion is soonish. I just think all these players, it's a tip of the iceberg. It's something that's going to tip soon. And it's going to be a trade. It's who's going to be the first pillar to fall. That's going to be the
Ben
real question.
Simmons will be the
Ben
first
Simmons.
killer out of any player. Yeah, he's gone. That was the other thing I was going to say earlier. The question, this guy went to media day and he asked the GM about Ben Simmons and said, if you trade for him, do you think he's going to be a lazy player? That's pretty much what he said to him. The GM and coach just laughed.
I don't know what's going to happen to Ben Simmons. He's refusing to attend media day, and it's like he's getting fined every day now, and he wants to be traded, but then Philly are not going to trade him unless Damian Lillard is available. I don't know.
He's so un-Australian. That's not how an Australian acts, I don't reckon.
Yeah, I think if most Australian fans have a pretty strong opinion on Ben Simmons. I know I personally do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we move on. Just kind of the last thing I want to talk about, and that's just, I just want to talk about the Big Four. And you might be asking, Big Four? Who's the Big Four, mate?
Ooh.
The Big Four in Chicago, mate. Chicago Bulls.
Ooh.
Big Four.
Tell me,
Zach
who's the Big
LaVine,
Four?
Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball. I'm absolutely having a mind blank for some reason, but
Vucevic and DeRozan.
There we go.
Yeah.
This team is. I know you have some pretty strong opinions on Chicago. You've done plenty of videos on Chicago. You must have some sort of predictions for this team. But this team, they have done really well in the offseason to bring in so many players. A player like Alonzo that has, I'm not going to say elite yet, but an amazing 3-point shot. He can play the off-ball point guard, or he can be the point guard, whatever. Zach LaVine is being amazing in training. I don't know if you've watched him or seen any training
I've
videos.
heard he's better than ever.
He looks amazing. And then DeRozan, he's going to be good. And then Vucevic, he's a machine. It's just, I think this team could be really good, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, you know my thoughts, Sam. The Bulls are going to be very, very good this season. They have a depth issue. That's pretty obvious. They don't have like a good 9th to 15th man rotation, but I think you can look aside from that when you see like their 8-man rotation is incredibly talented. Defensively, it sucks. Like it's still got some issues. Like you're going to have defensive issues when you got Vucevic, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, even DeMar's regressed as a defender. All of these players, you're like in your 8-man, but they've done things to fix it. They brought in Lonzo, who will also fix their playmaking issue. They brought in Caruso to help out the defense, and they brought in Patrick Williams the season before, and Derrick Jones now, who I think can be a valuable 8th man for them. They just got to fix their 9 to 15th man rotation. That's their very, very big issue that they've got right now.
Yeah.
They don't really have a good power forward or center as their backup. They got Tony Bradley, and that's it.
Yeah, the depth's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
It's if this team can stay healthy, and again, it's all going to depend on how they mesh in preseason, and we'll get a big grasp of that soon because training camp's starting. We'll see videos, clips, and then when preseason begins, we'll see what this team actually looks like. But hey, this team could be really good. I think Zach LaVine should improve, just heaps from last year. And then Lonzo is going to improve. It should be. I think that should be really good. Last year, what was their record? Let me get it up. They were 31 wins and 41 losses, and they were the 11th seed. So they only just missed out in the play-in tournament. What could we expect? Could we expect a play-in tournament maybe this year, or are we like saying the sky's the limit? They're like going to be like.
I think they'll finish like 45 and 37. I think that's the idea. 45 and 37 is pretty fair because they'll run into some injuries. And they're still relatively small, so they're going to experiment with small ball again. But they've done some things recently. They brought in Isaiah Johnson and Stanley Johnson, who were both players that are going to be trying to prove themselves. Stanley Johnson had some moments last year with Toronto where he actually looked his best for a long time. And Isaiah Johnson's just an okay rotational piece for the Nets, where he didn't really get many minutes at all. And I believe they brought in someone else, but yeah, I don't know. I'm happy though that they didn't bring back Ryan Archidiakno. They didn't bring back Denzel Valentine. They kind of let them walk. Not that they're not good players, they just wanted a fresh start.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they've done well. It's just there's an alarming depth issue that if they play good this season, if they win 45 games, then veterans will come to them in the off season. You know what I mean?
I think you're pretty
So,
spot on. I reckon
yeah.
45 wins is pretty much where I'd have them. 46 wins. And that's probably going to be a playing tournament team you'd expect with the, the extra games this season. Yeah, the East game more difficult. That's probably a playing team, I'd say. I'm assuming you agree, or
I think it's a playoff spot, isn't it? It's
a playoff spot, you think?
8-7. Oh no, playoff is 1 of 6, isn't it?
Yeah, 1 of 6. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be playing. Yeah, 7 seed around 7 to 8 seed. I'm assuming. Yeah, that's about right. Anyone that thinks they're going to win more games, clearly I think underestimates how good depth is in the NBA. And if they win more games, I think they would have to have like no injuries throughout the season, which is a possibility. Teams have done it before, but it's unlikely to say the least, I think.
Yeah. It'd be a very interesting team. And I think this is a big call for this team. I reckon Zach LaVine is going to be a star this year. I honestly expect him to just be an absolute machine and a big call, you could say. I think he'll make an all NBA team, which I think it's a pretty big call.
Is he an MVP candidate, maybe? Or is that too far?
Nah, it might be a bit too far. I mean, he'll be up there, top 10.
Yeah, top 10.
I think he'll be pushing an all NBA team this year.
Yeah,
that's huge for how much depth there is in the league of how many good guards there are. For a player like Zach LaVine to be pushing all NBA team, I think it's a pretty big call. Maybe some Chicago fans are like, what? That's not a big call. But I think it's a pretty big call. I think LaVine is really good this year.
I think you're right. He'll push for second or third team. Yeah. First team would be a miracle. But I could still see him averaging like 28 points per game. And some people might say, oh, well, he hasn't improved. Well, yes, he has, because that's 28 points with 2 extra scorers in your team now with DeMar and Vucevic, who were not really there last season. Vucevic played like 2 games and DeMar was not there. So if you can average the same amount of points with those players coming in, you would be knocking on first team, but I don't think you'd get there. I still think second and third team's realistic for me.
I think he really has to work on his consistency. I reckon last year there was very clear points in his games and just, in certain games of the season where he wouldn't play well. His consistency was pretty awful. He'll have games where he would get like 35 points, but then have a game where he only scores like 20 points, but on like a 30 field goal percentage. I think that was a pretty big issue for him last year, was just consistency. And pretty much that was the whole team last year. They weren't consistent.
Yeah, it will come. I think he's turning 27. So this year should be like his best year in his career. I think 27 and 29 tend to be for a lot of players their best ever years, unless they're like the late bloomer players that turn into real good stars at like 32. Like we've seen multiple players do it, but I don't think that's the case with Zach LaVine. I think he'll be best, and because he's an athletic player, athletic players usually regress later on. I think 27 and 29. These are the best years. So if you're Chicago, you're adding little pieces around him now. But the Bulls will make the playoffs. I think there'll be a playing team, but they'll get to the playoffs eventually. And I expect big things from the Chicago Bulls team. At least I hope so, because I think I'd look stupid from all the things I've said in my videos if they weren't.
I'd be curious to see the improvement from Patrick Williams. That's a player when he got drafted, was it 4th or 5th or 6th?
Yeah,
4th. A lot of players gave him hate, and I did as well. But I've always liked him coming into the draft. He was a player I actually liked a lot in the draft, and I thought he'd be a good pickup for whoever he went to. And so I'll be interested to see how he actually plays in Chicago next year, because I think Patrick Williams is really good. He's a player that's he honestly has a pretty high ceiling, back potential. But But then floor-wise, he could be like really average. He could be struggling to be on an NBA team in a few years. But he could be an awesome, 3-and-D player. I love his versatility as a defensive player.
Well, if he averages 10 points per game with good defense, he'll always have a spot, I think, on a roster somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just he's playing power forward this year. It's a new position. It's a new role. He's never played much power forward, I don't think. So I think he'll do well, but he is a little small. I think he'll do all right. It's just, just needs to be a good three-point shooter. All he needs to do is be a good three-point shooter and a good defender. He does not need to do anything else for this team. They're not going to rely on him to score. They've got DeMar, Vucevic, Lonzo, and Levine to do that. Just play his role and they'll be fine. That's what I think with Patrick Williams. He'll be all right, I think.
Yeah. Was there anything else you want to add? Because otherwise we'll start wrapping it up.
I think that's all good. I think we had a pretty eventful podcast today.
Yeah, there's a lot of actually points to start talking about. Hopefully in the next few weeks, preseason will start beginning soon. There should be heaps more just information to actually talk about. And then, oh man, once the NBA season begins, that's just when it gets crazy, man. There's so much stuff we can actually talk about and discuss, which I personally love. I know you love. That means heaps of just content for you and your channel and stuff like that.
Content, trade talk, everything's going down. Good time to be alive.
Well, anyway, thank you for listening, everyone who's still listening. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on iTunes. Seriously, I look at it every day. We appreciate it so much. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, seriously, check that out. That's where you can watch the video podcast or just the short podcast clips of what, that's us doing the predictions of the LA Lakers or the Toronto Raptors. We have everything in this short podcast clip. So that's just very easy to watch. And don't forget, check out our Instagram, Facebook, Nothing But Action. That's where you can find out everything about our next episode dropping and just all that early information. But other than that, thank you for watching. See you guys.